You won't. Okay. Yep. Oh.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming on. We came on a little bit earlier, a little technical difficulties, but we're all good. My name is Brandon James, C2R Productions. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a video production company, and just got recently into live streaming. And one of the things that I wanted to do was share different people's experiences and learn from others, and then have other people join me in that same learning experience. So when COVID-19 happened, I was like, man, I need to figure out what I'm going to do. I have this extra free time, and I wanted to develop who I was when it came to just being a videographer, creator. And so I added live streaming, and this is what we're doing today. So we have Osose today, and she's been a friend of mine for a while. It's been like a long, long time. We met, and we'll talk about this. We met overseas, even though we're both in California. We met overseas at the University of Sussex in the UK, Brighton. So I'm just really excited to just kind of talk to her, ask her a lot of different things, pick her brain, especially when it comes about the topic, when it's balancing multiple passions and goals. It's a very important thing, and we need to talk about that more because a lot of people think that you can't do more than one thing and excel and be well in it. So that's what we're going to talk about. Just some ground rules if this is your first time, if you weren't on our previous episode. At the top over here, on the top right for you, it'll be a countdown. It'll be a minute countdown. So you'll be able to understand when where we're starting and where we're ending. So we respect your time. And then another thing, at the bottom, you'll see all the questions will appear there. We'll have time for Q&A. So if you have any questions, if you're on Crowdcast, because we're live streaming on Facebook and Crowdcast, if you have any questions, go ahead and on Crowdcast, you can see it says ask a question. Ask your question there. We will get to it for sure. And in the comments, just say, hey, this is just a time for all of us to come together and learn. So let's go here to the next slide. These are the questions that we're going to talk about, and then I'll introduce Asase, who's our special guest. We're going to ask her to tell her about herself. We're going to ask her about her inspiration. When was the moment that happened for medicine, and then also for photography. We may have a Q&A just depending on how many questions we have. But the meat of the session will be about demystifying the belief that it's impossible to balance multiple passions and goals. So that's something that we'll really dive deep on. Then we'll talk about leadership, and then another time for question and answers. So without further ado, let's bring on our special guest, Asase. How's it going?
Hey, good to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Man, I'm so glad that you were available. Like, for real.
Yeah, me too.
I think I think the cool thing about this is that when I had this idea, I've had this idea for a while, and I wanted to be able to talk to the people that I really respect. And Zaire for the last episode was the first person, but then I think when it came to who I thought the next person had to be was you, because I really respect your passion, your grind, and everything that you're doing. So I'm really excited about this one. And yeah, um,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, definitely thank you for having me. I will say it's crazy to, I mean, just think back about like how we met, right? Because I think that's always a good story. So for those of
yeah,
y'all watching, I met Brandon summer 2011. So
yeah,
the summer before third year of college. We both went to study abroad at the University of Sussex in England for
mm,
different reasons. I went because I was trying to figure out a way to study abroad as a pre med, which is not very easy to do. Um, but Sussex had this like international summer program where students could go and take all of your not psych, physics courses in one summer, which is insane.
Yeah.
Signed up to do
Yeah.
that, and I had just gotten probably got my first camera about a year before that, and
Oh wow. I remember
so
you. I remember we had that conversation.
my little Canon Rebel, yeah. So
Yeah.
brought that camera with me to Sussex, and that is where I met Brandon, who had his little camcorder.
No, I didn't have a camcorder. At that time, I had
Was it a
like a
little
little. It was like a
was it a little flip
flipper
thingy?
camera. Yeah.
Yes,
It was.
yes. I don't remember I don't know what the name of those things were, but it was like we was
I
packing a
wasn't
little
on your
light.
level yet.
Oh my gosh, the Rebel that I was on was such a baby camera. But I remember I would take pictures, and I think at the time I definitely didn't call myself a photographer. I was like, I'm just someone that takes pictures.
Well,
Don't ask me why.
I think
But I
that's
remember
acceptable.
you
Yeah.
had looked at one of my pictures and had said like, "Yo, you're dope." And so I'll never forget like the encouragement that you gave me back then. So again, just bringing it full circle, it's really great to be here talking with you.
Hey, thank you. I think that when it comes to this, I really want to be mindful of. Um, I guess what I'm trying to say is, when it comes to conversations like these, we don't really come together as creatives a lot and talk about the real details. So, like I said, I'm really excited to be able to talk to you about this and
Hmm.
really pick your brain because, as everyone who is on here, they know that you're an incredible person. So, um, let's just get into it
Thank
and
you.
then we'll just see how it goes. So,
All
first
right.
question. Introduction. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about all your titles and everything that you do.
Oh goodness, titles. All right. Well, first and foremost, my name is Osose Oboh or Osose. I'm Nigerian. My parents immigrated from Nigeria to California a long time ago. So I was born in Los Angeles, California. Went to UCLA for undergrad and got my bachelor's of science in biology. Absolutely hated it. That was not the major for me at all. But anyways, I knew I wanted to go into medicine. I also knew that I was interested in public health because I really, during college, got involved with the local community and was like doing like blood pressure screenings and like healthy heart education in barbershops around the greater Los Angeles area. One was called like In the Cut Barbershop out in Inglewood. And so I think just by doing like that kind of community work and like talking to folks, I realized that I was really interested in public health as well. So I ended up applying and getting my master's of public health from the University of Southern California. And then I did a 1 year post-bac program at Charles R. Drew University, which is also in California. It's like the only HBCU in the state. And what a post-bac is just to take extra classes if you felt like you needed to do more to boost up your GPA. And I felt like I needed to do that before applying to medical school. And now I'm in medical school in my last year at Michigan State University. It's
That's so
crazy.
dope. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So I'm calling in from Flint, Michigan right now, where I'm finishing my clinical experiences. But yeah, so I mean that's a little bit about me. In terms of photography, um, started shooting, I guess technically high school. I think like my senior year was when I got my first little camera for this AP photo class. But I ended up not having a camera when I started undergrad, but bought a camera maybe my second, the summer after first year is when I bought my first camera. I saved every check and bought it, and started shooting like protests and things that were happening on campus. And so by the end of my first year, I think someone had asked me to pay me $50, a whole $50, to take their grad photos, and I thought they were crazy. And I was like, "You want to pay me $50? I barely got $1. You know what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
had
So like
that
$50 to
same. Yeah.
me, fifty
Yeah.
dollars to me was like mind-boggling. But by the time I graduated, people were paying me at least $100 for the
Yeah.
same session. So it took a couple of years to fully get my courage up. But I think that year even I think I shot like 100 different people during grad season. I went from this color to real chocolate, real nice. from standing outside and shooting all the grad pictures. But I think that was really my launching point to stepping out as a freelance photographer full time. Did that through grad school, and even now in medical school, I still work as a photographer. I shot a couple weddings still throughout this time, lots of headshots, and I shoot for my school as an independent contractor and things like
Nice.
that. But I think those are the main parts. But outside of that, I'm the national president for the Student National Medical Association, which is a nonprofit and the largest and oldest of its kind. It's a student-run organization, really just created to be a resource for students of color that are pursuing medical school or medicine, rather. So whether you're like an undergrad and you're a pre-med student, there's space for you there. And then we have like all of our med students, and so we have chapters across the nation both with SNMA and MAPS, which is the pre-med component. So there's like over 400 chapters, I think, across the nation. But we have thousands of members, and we just do a lot of great work within the community and also for our med student population. So yeah,
Wow.
those are the main things. Main things.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know what's incredible about that is I heard you talk about your story from high school to now, right? And what I hear is a lot of
Yeah.
focus, right? And let's get away from the questions a little bit. I want to ask you this. When it comes to your focus, what does that mean to you? Because of course you're juggling a lot, but it seems like even how you described it, it seems like it just all kind of works together and just gels well. Like what is that?
Hmm.
Yeah.
What is that? That's called God. Okay, God. I think that God has
Yeah.
really given me, I mean, skills and talents that are literally their gifts. I can't say that. I can say that I worked at my skills, right? But the ability to see someone and see an image, like the eye for photography, the eye is a gift. And I
Mm,
will say that I remember seeing someone smiling. Like it is the joy in life that I think was what drew me to photography in the first place. And so it kind of came naturally because it was like a calling that I feel like God placed in my heart, right? Same for medicine. That was a journey. Okay. It was not easy, but it was a calling that I feel like God had to reaffirm and confirm. And I would tell him, man, are you sure? Are you sure? Because I don't know, man. I don't know. People crazy in this field. There's not really a lot of diversity. I haven't met a black doctor yet. Like, God, are you sure? These classes are hard.
yeah.
God, are you sure? Like, he had to really just come through and confirm that all of the things that I'm doing are I'm supposed to be doing. And so I think when you talk about focus, like, yeah, there's focus there because I think you should be focusing and like really on the things that bring you joy,
Mm,
and all of these things
mm.
do that. So I'm always trying to figure out how to incorporate them and how to continue doing them, which I will also say that took a while to get to. Yeah.
You know, I share that same. I feel like I share that same take on how that happened. God has been
Hmm.
wonderful in my life, and I tell everybody that when it comes to me doing my business full time. And I started off just doing videos with some of my friends at UC Santa Barbara,
Hmm.
and
Mm.
we created this music video. It was called Library. And we made it in a
Hey.
library. You remember that song, Cat Daddy? I will not sing the lyrics
Yes.
of this song. I will embarrass myself. You can't find it on YouTube anymore. It is unlisted. You won't be able to find it.
Hey.
But that was like my first project. And me and my friend, I'm running around with my MacBook. We're running through it. It was basically like,
That's crazy. You filmed it
yeah,
all on a MacBook?
yeah, like transitions, everything, spinning it. And I didn't know what I was doing. But I knew, like, okay, I know how to edit, right? The passion wasn't there yet, but when everybody saw the video, they were like, yo, this is crazy. It went semi viral on campus. The school
Hmm.
actually put it on their library website. And then we would go out and, like, just in the Isla Vista community, which is like a student population where people party and everything. People
Yeah.
were playing the song. It was weird, and it was like only for like 2 weeks, and then it kind of got old. But the
Yeah. Yeah.
confidence was like there for me. I was like, man, people really loved what I did. maybe this is something that like I can do for a living one day. And it
Mhm.
took a long
Mhm.
time to now to get to where I am, and it was a multiple things that got there. But I think God definitely gave me the courage, the focus, and the people around me to be able
Mhm.
to get this all together. So I want to ask you another question when it comes to that. When it comes to people around you, who are the people around you that helps you and assists you and supports you? Why is that important to be able to have those people around you with all the things that you do?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, dang, that's a good question. For one, I want to say like that was ingenious. You spun the MacBook around like what?
All webcam.
Talk about
Bam.
transitions. That is just the gift was there. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave it at that. But in terms of like support, I think support was crucial for every step of my journey, right? So like with medical school, I had no mentorship in undergrad, and the classes that we were in were all like really, really weeder classes, like to weed people out. Why would you want to weed people out if this is what they want to do, right? And so,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to like students of color, and I'm black, 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 especially today. And so it was just like every quarter, like the black people that were pursuing pre med or whatever would dwindle as we were weeded out because one, we didn't have advisement at UCLA, we didn't have a pre med office or anything, so the support wasn't there. My parents being from Nigeria, they didn't understand. I didn't understand what it was like to be on that journey and to be black. I didn't even understand fully at the time what it meant to be black and in this space
Mm.
because at my house, I went home and I'm in Nigeria.
Mm.
So, and so like I had to really just like come like have a whole aha moment, do some research, attend these lectures to understand like why am I feeling like people are trying to separate me from the smart people or something.
Mm.
And so I think I realized on that journey that like man, the support I didn't have support, and support was crucial for me to make it. And so I had to try to seek that out. Like I found the Association of Black Women Physicians after I graduated, and I found out about the SNMA after I graduated. And once I found out about the SNMA, I was like, oh, okay, so I'm going to join the SNMA the moment I get into medical school. And then it will be my number one goal to make sure that people are aware that we exist so that they know that there is a family waiting to support them if they choose this journey. Like we are
Mm.
here, we're all across the nation. We could plug you in and you can find that support system that you need. So that's what I'm working on right now as president.
Yeah,
And
that's
in
awesome.
terms of like on the
Yeah.
photography creative realm, Mess was lonely. So I mean, we ended up keeping in contact with each other, and you were really a source of encouragement for me. But I think that was one of the biggest struggles again, like trying to have support. I had friends that were telling me, you can do this, you can do both, you can do both, you can do both. While my parents were saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? Drop that toy. What are you doing? So support is crucial. If I didn't have those friends, if I didn't have you, if I didn't find my new collective of like New York photographers that were like cheering me on or telling me like execute that idea, I think I would not be where I am today. Period. So support is crucial. Having people that can speak positivity into your life, slap you when you talk in negative, and remind you who the heck you are is so important.
You're amazing. And I
I
say
guess I've
that
been listening
because
to like.
I really mean that because there's not a lot of people who truly understand that they can be multifaceted and be great in all the things, right? That's the reason why I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to do this. And I wanted to do this topic specifically with you because you actually gave me inspiration on understanding that I don't just have to be a video production company, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually working on a it's a project. It's a secret project. I'm working with two other
Okay.
people,
Okay.
and it's gonna be coming out the end of the year. I'll tell you about it offline. But yeah, it's gonna be pretty dope. And you are one of the sources of inspiration for me when I see that. Okay, yeah, you can be creative, and like you're creative in photography, but you're also creative in medicine as well. Like it seems like I've seen you kind of merge both of those. Like I've seen you on billboards. Like that's crazy. You want to
That's
talk
hella
about that?
crazy.
Yeah, like that's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't expect to be on the other side of the camera, but life happens. Um, I think a part of life is that you need to be open to things changing and to things growing, and open to opportunities that you would have never thought you would be able to take. So, like, just with that billboard, that was just one shoot that I was just like, I'm not a model, but sure. You sure you want me? You sure you want me? I'll show up. I'll smile for the camera. My sister had to hype me up because I will say the first time I got asked, I said no. And maybe like 5 months later, they hit me up again, like, hey, we would love to have you. And, so had to, again, that who you have around you is crucial, because if I didn't have my sister and some of my friends telling me, take the dang on job, girl, and go and do it, bump school for a week, ain't no one's gonna care, just go,
Yeah.
um, if I didn't have those people around me to tell me to go and do it and to just say yes, I wouldn't have done it. And it wouldn't have helped to develop my mindset of, what, I need to say yes more and stop thinking it's like I'm the one that's holding the door. Someone's trying to open the door for me and I'm holding the door back on the other side. Don't be that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I we have these questions here, and I'll show people those questions again. But I think we're gonna go off script a little bit because what you're talking about, I'm coming up with other different things to ask. So we're gonna skip the moment of inspiration for medicine and photography because we've kind of already touched on those things. I have a question for you. I remember we were talking. I don't know if it was over the phone or we might have just did like a quick video call just to get back in touch. But you were talking about a particular trip that you took by yourself. Do you remember that?
I've taken a couple trips by myself.
Well, your first one.
Maybe. Okay. Okay.
I have a question for you for
Let's see.
that because
Okay.
I really do believe that being able to do that also speaks on your ability to be able to just tackle the world, to do what you want to do, and to sort of make it look easy. Because you do make it look easy. I know it's tough. I know it's hard. You do it with a smile. And I see the work. But you really do make it look easy. And that's a hard thing to do. But to go back to my question, like, what did that experience do for you to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to just go travel by myself? What did you learn from that? And how is that influencing you in both of your passions when it comes to photography and medicine?
Yeah. Well, I will say, so there was kind of like two trips. I would say I went to India, and that was for my master's in public health.
Mm,
And that was a solo trip because I was like going alone like as a student, but there was like another group of people that I was going to be meeting, that I had never met before. But the truly solo trip, maybe that would probably be a better example. When I finished my post-bac program, and I was going to be applying to medical school and taking that stupid MCAT, and I had been wanting to go to Thailand for a very long time.
that's what it is.
And my friends would just be dragging their feet. People gonna drag your feet to the couch. You're gonna stay posted up if you don't move on your own. So
Yeah.
that's really what got me like, now let me just look at how much the flight was. And for the time that I was trying to go, the flight was like $400, $500 round trip, which is psycho. Okay. So I
Yeah.
was like, damn, this must be an act of God. Let me try to listen. So I bought the flight before thinking about anything. And I told myself, girl, you're just gonna go for the whole month of May. Not knowing like how are you going to pay for everything, where are you going to stay. I just didn't think about it. I was like, that flight price is the sign of Jesus himself. Let's just book it. So I booked it, right? And then the 24-hour passes before you can cancel, and I start freaking out. And I was like, oh my God, I just booked a trip by myself. um I'm definitely forgetting what the question was, but I'm telling the story.
Yeah,
So
go
remind
ahead.
me what the question was before I take myself on
Well,
20,000
I'll tell you
tangents,
right
because I
now.
do.
So it's how did that experience pretty much, how did that help you in being able to like mold yourself in the even in a better way, or how did it influence your photography and your passion with medicine? Because I feel
Yeah.
like that's a defining like
Okay.
time in your life that you did some growth.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, as a whole, it was first taking that first step and buying the flight, right? I think that there are a lot of internal fears that we have and expectations about how things can go wrong. There's 20,000 different ways something can go wrong. Look at the world outside right now. It's a mess. And I think that sometimes that we can forget that we actually have power, that we can choose joy over like wallowing in pity. Like we can choose to find the good in something. And so I think that was like one of the biggest things I might have learned on that trip. Because when I tell you things that could have gone wrong, they went wrong. Everything, a lot of things went wrong, right? I remember I prayed. I'm a praying person. So I prayed, like, God, I did this thing. You know, I did this thing. You know, I wanted to do this thing. You with me. You me in
Uh,
Thailand right now, but you don't do it because you're a miracle working. And so that's exactly what he did. I'd go to a conference and the keynote speaker worked in Thailand. What? So I went and hollered at him for a minute, and he connected me with someone like photographers that were in Thailand doing work at a refugee camp, teaching them how to shoot photography on like little cheap cameras.
wow.
How? I shot a wedding maybe a month later, and one of the bridesmaids was moving to Cambodia to start working with a nonprofit there that really were just going out and rescuing women and children from sex trafficking and reintegrating them into society and giving them jobs to make candles and make clothes. And I got to go there and I got to shoot them because once you out in Asia, flight's like $30 to hop over. And so I got to go and do product photography, which I don't really do,
Yeah.
but you kind of just say yes. They're crazy opportunities that just they don't quite fit with the story, but they build something inside of you, you know. And so I think the trip became like literally an example of how of the opportunities you can have if you are one open to it, if you take the steps towards them and really just try to like shut out the negative thoughts that you can't do something or you're not worthy or deserving of an experience like that was literally the experience of a lifetime. And it was great for me to finish that whole experience and then take on the task of applying to medical school, which is a beast in itself. So
You know,
yeah.
I would say, for just from what you talked about, I think that's the biggest reason why a lot of people struggle with pursuing their dreams, pursuing their passions, pursuing their goals. And what that
Mm-hmm.
is that natural negative thought that you get, right? I feel like
Mm-hmm.
as human beings, we're always super critical of ourselves, naturally. Without any
Yeah.
work done, without any ability to do work in your mind to think more positively, you're just going to
Mm-hmm.
be on default negative, right? And I
Right.
had to learn that in my life. And it took me a while, and it's still taking me a while. It's a work in progress because anything new that I do, like even this live stream, I was like, oh my God, okay, I'm gonna start this. And I kind of felt like that vulnerable, like creative again. Like, all right, is it gonna go
Mm-hmm.
well? Is everything gonna go good? Am I gonna be a great communicator? Are people gonna love it? Is it gonna grow? Like all
Yeah.
those things keep coming, right?
Right.
When I was doing video production, I'm kind of like, yeah, that's what I do. So I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I can put a stamp on that. And now with the live streaming to also do it on location for people, that's a whole nother beast outside of this, right? So
Right.
I constantly am battling those natural, reoccurring negative thoughts that come. And I think I had to figure out and come to grips with that it's okay to have those. It's normal. And I
Yeah.
think it actually gives us life and it gives us the motivation and it makes it just that much sweeter once you accomplish it. Because
Yeah.
if we just thought positively about everything, then life wouldn't be magical. That's just the way I see it.
Mhm.
Because it's that challenge and it's that overcoming of your mind, you know, to be
Yeah, I
successful.
do.
Like success is more sweeter when you really had to challenge yourself. It's not something
Mhm.
like, oh, I did this and it was easy. It's like, no, we got this done and it was tough. And I
Yeah.
think those are the things that change you. It morphs you into a better human being for yourself and for others. And it also influences your future to be able to take and tackle on bigger challenges. So
Right.
I think, from hearing about your trip, like I can see like all the things that you were talking about, how they come to play in other parts of your life.
Mhm.
And I just when we used to talk, I remember you used to hit me up and say, "Hey, Brandon, I'm doing this contract. I'm trying to figure it out, and then things like that." And I've seen you from that point to where it's like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Doing. I'm gonna talk to this brand to do video or photography, doing photography overseas. Like I saw you everywhere. You're international,
Yeah.
and it's just phenomenal to see. So yeah."
Yeah.
Let's see if we have any questions. Let's see here. A reminder for people, if you're on Crowdcast, you should see the Ask a Question button. If you click on that, you can ask a question. Those questions will populate there. Also on Facebook, if you ask any questions, go ahead and put it in the comments. So we have two questions on Facebook. So I'll ask you the first one. What
Okay.
advice would you give to someone who is still trying to discover what gives them passion? So,
Hmm. Try everything. It's kind of like a buffet, right? Because I think sometimes you don't know if you like something or not, or you know what I mean. I'm a
yeah,
foodie, so I have to like to think about things in terms of food. So you got to try things out,
yeah,
and I think if you have the privilege to do so, because I think we have to acknowledge that too. Like something is like photography. I think photography used to be and probably still is a or was a hobby of the privileged. Like who has time to just go and take pictures, right? Pictures before didn't used to pay. People didn't
yeah,
really see the value in photography unless they were wealthy because you are just trying to keep the lights on. You know what I'm saying? So I think definitely have to acknowledge privilege in that regard. But I think if you're trying to find your passion, you got to try things out. You should also there's a lot of self-reflection that has to happen as well. Like you need to figure out what what makes you happy. What are the things that bring you joy? Do you like kids? Do you like being organized in your own house? What are those little things that you do at home that bring you joy? And maybe you might find a way that you can now flip that to make it lucrative. Because I know that when I went into photography, I didn't go into photography with the idea that I was about to get paid for it. I did it
yeah,
because I loved it. And I loved that when I was walking down Broom Walk, I'd see someone smiling or something, and I just be like, "Oh, that's cute. That would be a perfect frame right there." Like it was just like automatic all the time. I'm just thinking like, "Oh, that's a good shot. Oh, that would be a good shot." So it was natural to me to be like, "Okay, I'm gonna get a camera." Not like, "Oh, I'm gonna get a camera to start a business." I didn't even know
exactly.
people had photography businesses to begin with. I'm over here like med school, but I want a camera. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
until someone offered to pay me, and then their friend offered to pay me, and then their friends offered to pay me, it was not a business. A business wasn't feasible. It was not feasible. I couldn't dream it. I couldn't dream of it because I didn't know anyone doing it. So I had no role models. I had no one that I could see like, oh, they're successful in that. What is success in this? So definitely, again, you just got to try things out. Like if I hadn't
you,
tried out photography
yeah,
and started trying out portrait photography, which is where I think a lot of my income has come from, in photography wise, and started trying out weddings and trying out shooting like conferences and those kind of things, I would have never made it to where I am.
I would
So,
say my biggest mentors when it comes to creativity is YouTube and Google,
mm,
and it still
mm-hmm,
is. You know,
mm-hmm,
it's that discovery, and what you just said right there. It reminds me of like the way that I began to develop my passion with video. Like I told you, I made that video on a MacBook. No
mm-hmm.
resources. We just did whatever we had. I said, I have a webcam. Okay, we can use that. Make multiple clips. I would never do that again. But I would never do that again. But
Yeah.
the feeling that I got after it was done and how people were commenting and they wanted to see more, I started just making a whole bunch of different videos for the campus for free. It was like
Mm,
I did like 100 videos, and I'm not lying. Like I did like 100
wow.
videos for free. People would give me like $50 gift cards or whatever, or they fed me at the event, and it's like, all right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted to be out and about and be the camera guy, and I would watch
Right.
commercials like during breaks because we didn't have Netflix or anything like that, or did we? No, we did have Netflix.
No, did we? I don't remember Netflix in college
It
like
wasn't
that.
as big. Wait,
Mm,
no, it
I
was.
don't
It was
know.
because I remember
Okay.
watching like Kevin Hart and all that stuff on Netflix.
Oh,
Or
okay.
wasn't it? I think it was Netflix. Yeah, we had on demand. We had on demand
Oh,
video.
okay. We
Yeah.
definitely did.
But
Gosh.
regardless of that, it's crazy how technology grows. But regardless of
Hmm.
that, I remember just watching commercials and like, how did they do that? How did they get that transition? How did they do all these different things? And I would just go to
Yeah.
Google and YouTube and just look up how do you get a shallow depth of field? I don't know.
Mm,
What are the differences with f-stops with lenses? I had no clue. How do you manually expose photo and video?
yeah.
So it was all new to me, but I had the passion for it. So I
Right.
can completely relate with what you just said. So the next question, which I think is a really, really good one, is do you ever feel like you've stretched yourself too far?
I definitely felt that way in college.
Mm,
And I think right now, I definitely feel that way, but it's also because I'm bearing the weight uh, of a lot more, in general. So in college, I did. And in college, I felt that way because all of the things I was doing weren't all passion related.
mm,
So in terms of with one thing that's beautiful about passion is that you get to give right by acting, but it also gives back to you because it helps to fill you up too,
mm,
right? And so in college, I was doing all types of things, and only the things I liked, only the things I was passionate about were filling me up, but all these other things were taking up my time. So when I got to medical school, I was like, okay, I'm only going to do the things that I'm passionate about because then it won't feel like a task, you know? Um, so I will say now, being president, I think one thing just to give it a little bit of context is I'm president. It's of a nonprofit organization, right? I have about like 40 board members, majority, like 36 of them are students. So we're all still in school and trying to and run not trying to and running this nonprofit business, right? In the middle of a pandemic, we're all in medicine, and that's affecting our medical education and our scheduling. So now our scheduling is very erratic. Like we might not know what we're doing next week, and all of a sudden I got to be over here, and also in the middle of this like racial unrest,
mm-hmm,
right? And so, and being that we are a majority Black
mm,
organization, and so I would say now it's like if in terms of the SNMA as a whole, it feels like I'm juggling a whole nother life.
mm-hmm,
And so I wouldn't necessarily say I feel stretched too thin. I think I'm just tired. And I think a lot of us are tired,
mm-hmm.
um, because we're being emotionally taxed, we're being re traumatized by what's going on outside. So again, I think when it comes to balancing multiple passions, you got to check and make sure they're passions. Because if they're passions, the feel is totally different than if you just juggling a bunch of things that you actually don't care about.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think to add to that, I would say that, with everything happening in the country, um, both health wise and both racially, and racially, and with me doing my video production company and trying to make it grow, it is many hats, right? So you are
Right.
stretched. And for a person of color, it's a unique experience because
Mm.
you're really impacted at the core, right?
Yeah.
And I always
Yeah.
tell people that your business is a reflection of you, right? So you
Mhm.
always want to be your best self or whatever you do, right? Your profession, your business, your passion, your goal. It's a reflection of you, right? The
Yeah.
way that you walk out the door, if you're like, open the door, people are going to look at that and be like, what are they doing, right? And that's
Mhm.
metaphorically like the door is your goal, but people see
Yeah.
you, you know. So if you walk out confidently, like, look at that young man or woman who opened up that door, you know. And so I
Yeah.
always say, who you are is more important than anything.
Mhm.
And as long as you're taking care of yourself, your health, your mental health, um, you're satisfying that urge to learn and grow, and
Mhm.
multiple other things. But all those things come together to be able to feed those surface level things of what you do
Right.
and your passions and your creativity and your social media and all that stuff. It all comes
Mhm.
together, but it first starts with you. And I think that being stretched sometimes could be good, but it's a thin line. I
Yeah.
think you have to be able to balance challenge and like health. you know,
You definitely
you have
do.
to challenge
Yeah.
both. Sometimes you're all the way over here on the health side, and it's like, on the stretch side, and you're up all the time. But you have to figure out how to get that time back.
Mhm.
And so it's not always a balance. Sometimes
Yeah.
it balances and tiers different ways, but you have to be able to manage that, in a variable way, not always just even. So
Mhm. And
that's how I would
I
say
think
it.
I think something that's important too is that balancing. It's a process. It's an ongoing process.
Mm-hmm.
And so just like you were saying, like, yeah, I think sometimes things shift. So like I'm not necessarily doing a lot of creative shoots right now because right now the balance is the med school is up here, SNMA is up here. You know what I'm saying? Like, so creative shoot wise is a little bit lower. If I get time, maybe I'll edit some old photos that I took recently that I haven't gotten to do yet. And then it'll kind of shift again. So balancing, I think people need to understand it's not a state that is stagnant.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing about that too. So,
So we got another
hmm
question. Thank you everyone for your questions. We got another two. We'll go with the first one. So for both of us, I'll let you, or you can let me know if you want me to answer or you answer first based on the question. Um,
cool.
but is there a passion that you're more passionate about, or are they equal?
Hmm. Interesting. I think they're pretty equal.
Mm.
I think they're pretty equal. But again, I think balancing. I think some days I'm like, I might be like tunnel visioned on medicine. Other days I might be tunnel visioned on photography or whatever that new job is or whatever product that I'm working on.
Yeah,
But I'll say overall, no, they're pretty even for me. What about you, Brandon?
I would say, I would say they're not. I would say that. So these are my passions right now, as it is right now. When it comes to my video production company, and being an entrepreneur, that's one. But actually, those are kind of separate because the way that I identify like my passions is I love just talking to different entrepreneurs and learning just about business, right? So like business management,
Mm,
being an entrepreneur, Then it's the creative side, which is being able to be a professional creative to reduce risk, but also for my clients to make sure that I have a bulletproof system and workflow that ensures that I'm going to give them their product and they're going to love it. And then the third one is, I would say, just on the personal level, my family, and just being able to be the best person holistically for myself, like that core, because like I said earlier, it all comes from who I am. I'm the fundamental of everything that I do. So
Yeah.
I feel like for that, that's most important for me. If I'm not rested, if I'm not the best me, and if I can't take myself away from all the other things and just be a dad or just be a wife, a husband to my wife, or
Yeah.
just be a son, or a brother or whatever, right? A friend. If I can't take time to do that, then everything else is going to reflect that. It's going to look
Yeah.
sloppy. It's not going to have that wholeness because I'm not whole. So I kind of use
Mhm.
that as like a fundamental for me. Everything else is second tier, but it doesn't mean that there's not a enormous fire and passion to be able to do those things. But I do have a fundamental source, and I've been working on that. And when I tell you, it's not, it hasn't been a long time. I really just learned this about how I wanted to operate in life, I would say 2 months ago. Like, legit.
Mm.
I didn't think about myself as being the common denominator and splitting that from all the passions and goals that I have. I had to really
Mhm.
kind of dig deep and say, okay, who am I? Who am I
Right.
as a person? Who am I first? Let's get out, forget the creative stuff, forget the
No, for
business,
sure.
forget the entrepreneur. Who am I? And then
Yeah.
those things, my values from that, will be able to funnel into those. So,
I
yeah, that's
think
the way that I'll say it.
that was an important differentiation. I think I was looking at it like very surface level, like creative passions and endeavors and like medical passions and endeavors. Because if I split all of those up, then people gonna look at me like I'm real crazy.
Oh no no no
But
no.
I will definitely say like the things that you value, you like figuring out what your values are. The values are what are definitely what kind of keep you sane. Like for me, it is like my relationship with the Lord that is paramount to anything and everything. And
Yes.
then it's my family and my friends who support me through all that I do, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? And so, and that's my community, right? And so, um, I think making sure that they are getting their time, that is so important too, for
And I
sure.
think
Like,
I think
yeah.
people see that from you because when you described that, I was like, yeah, that's very true. Everything that I
Hmm.
see you do, whether it's photography, when I see like images of your work, or when I hear you talking about your different accomplishments when it comes to the field of medicine, I always kind of keep those things in the back of my head when I think about what you're doing, and I think that's important. I think
Hmm.
people gravitate towards other individuals when they see them have a clear, defined outlook on life. And it's not
Hmm.
really influenced to the point where it's like, oh, this person's doing that, so I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah.
It's a very, very, how can I say it? It's a, it's a, it's a method that you really have to think about in terms of changing or evolving. Like you really take it in and first work on you, figure out
Hmm.
if it's of value, and it's something that you want to bring into yourself before you put it out. And
Yeah.
I think that's the key when it comes to that. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you there.
We have another question. and then we'll get to the other my last question. Then we'll go back to Q&A if we have any more.
Okay.
So, what are your top tips for increasing productivity and managing multiple passions?
Ooh. Okay. Everybody, I think one of my love languages used to be words of affirmation. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
top anymore. Yeah, it's not top anymore, which is interesting. I think as you grow, things can change a little bit. And I think because of that, I really love checklists. Just simple. So I can check something off and be like, yeah, you did that, girl. You dressed your bed. Hey, I think just even just putting it lightly, checklist. So for me, I always tend to have a planner that I can write in. I think tech is good and all dandy or whatever, but I'm an old soul and I really like to write things down. Because if I put everything in my calendars on my computer or whatever, it's the likelihood of it getting done is very slim. So for me, I think my best weeks of being productive are when I write out my week and my goals, um, and make them feasible. Because sometimes, a lot of times, we set the expectations to be way too high, and you bring it down and make it realistic. Especially now that a lot of us are working from home,
Yes.
you got to chill out. You got to chill out. I think it's a very hard environment to have to try to work from home. Um, it's hard on your body, especially if you don't have a desk and things of that nature. So, anyways, definitely I'll try to sit down and Sunday, like I love tea, I love wine. I try to make it feel good to plan because also I think sometimes people can feel like it's a chore. So just taking the time to sit down and write out your goals for the week. What do you have to get done? Do you have to have meetings? Do you want to get a photo shoot done? I'm trying to still like launch into like YouTube, and like creating content that is actually helpful for people. Like my line is that I want to be the plug. That's my life. That's my goal in life,
Yeah.
is just to be a
I mean,
resource to
you only
people.
are.
You know what I'm saying? I should make some paraphernalia, like be the plug. I don't know, but because I want to do all those things, right? I definitely have to write it out. I
Yeah.
know for me, I'm really great in the morning, so I try to put anything that I have to do in terms of studying that is actually make or break. That goes in the morning, right? And then maybe I have like a whole hour lunch break or something. Maybe put some Bible time or write down, girl, you better listen to some music and like shake it up a little bit, enjoy yourself. And then make sure to include, then break it up like, okay, I know it will take me 2 hours to edit this set of photos for this client, and it'll take me about 30 minutes to set up my photo session area, maybe another 45 to film a segment. So, again, being feasible with how long things actually take to do, writing them down and giving them their due time. So, I think it's very easy that if you don't do that, that you can again that negative talk, that negative self-talk, we're gonna always keep coming back to that for every aspect of our
Yeah.
life. But if you don't set realistic goals, it
Yeah.
is very likely that you will see that you didn't reach X, Y, and Z goal, and then
Exactly.
you're going to start talking negative to yourself, and then you're not going to reach the goals for the next day because you're already going to be thinking that you're not capable of doing it or what have you. So I think really realistically setting like goals for that week, so those are like short term, setting long term goals, and being able to write them down and go back and look and see how much you've done, so that you can also give yourself that positive reinforcement and encourage yourself to continue forward. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I'm not the most organized person. And it takes a lot to say that, right? I've come to grips
Hmm.
with that. And it's important that you know that. I'm not the type of person that writes down notes and remember where they are.
Hmm.
I'm not the type of person that builds different workflows and processes to be able to do things in a repetitive way and make it efficient. I'm just not that person. What I have figured out for myself, though, is that I put quote unquote my money where my mouth is. You know,
Speak on it.
I literally, I literally, I would say that the way that I'm productive is my Instagram stories. I literally
Mm.
sometimes over communicate what I'm doing on Instagram, but it's the ability for me to help people and to be in my passion. Like my whole live stream setup, I've been talking about it on Instagram since I started. Since the idea
Mm-hmm.
came to all the different equipment that I'm using. And, you know, several people are coming on and asking me, and they're actually building their own kits. But
Mm.
for me to be able to say, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to accomplish it, this is what I learned today, it keeps me moving. It keeps me being productive.
Yeah.
And then there's an expectation from people now to, they ask me like, well, where are you in your process, right? Like I said, I'm not really a note taker, but I'll do anything. Like this is this is
Wow.
the
That's
whole.
beautiful.
Uh, it, Thank you.
That's
But this
literally like
is
art.
this is my live stream setup. I'm about 75% done with it, but this is what it's going to look like. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I just do things to make sure that I'm always in a groove. I kind of look at it as like a force field, and it can push you out left or right. You have to
Yeah.
stay in it, and you know, you want to play that video game, or you want to go just relax, or you want to watch that new movie, or you just want to take a break. Sometimes you just got to stay in and do your thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend that for everyone. It just works for me. I
Mm-hmm.
also look at things like how I said, putting your money where your mouth is. I'll throw out a goal and I'll tell someone about it.
Mm-hmm.
And now I feel like that's just how I am. I have to go do it.
And now you gotta go do it. Yeah,
Like,
no, I'm that kind of person too.
yeah. And
Yeah.
just to kind of show you as an example, with Zaire for the first episode for this live stream, I was like, I don't know if I want to do it, whatever, whatever. At 11 p.m. at night, out here, I texted Zaire. I was like, yo, man, I want to do this live stream. Let's do it next Friday. He's like, all right, cool. I said, all right, you free you free Friday at 7? He was like, yeah, cool. I was like, all right, I'll send you some information. And then all of a sudden, I'm just like, oh my God, I don't know what it's going to look like, what we're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a date set and I had a time set. And I was
And you had a
communicating with
person.
him and I had a
Mm-hmm.
person, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
and the same thing with you. I reached out to you, we figured out the date, and I worked towards to get to it to get done. So, that's the way I look at my productivity and what works for me. And again, I'm continually evolving. So if I find something that is a little bit more organized and have, because I would love that, but I'm just not that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you should be, because I think I say that, and that's when I'm the most productive and efficient and effective.
Yeah.
Now, did I do that this week? No, 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 no. Am I
Yeah.
still being productive to the level that I'm okay with? Yes, because again, especially right now, a lot is going on.
Man.
And so I think I have to realize my capacity to be this organized, like fully functional, like human being is not it's not there. So I think it's one, that piece that you said about sharing it with someone else. I definitely try to share my ideas with other people that I know will either help me execute
Hmm.
or be there to like cheer me on and remind me like, hey, did you do this? Hey, did you do what you said you're gonna do?
Yeah.
What, how can I help you? You know, so I think it's also important to remember and to be very conscious of who you're sharing your goals and your ideas with too.
Mm.
Hmm.
Let's get to the last question about this mystifying, like we were talked about before the live stream, and then we have another question that we can talk about after that. We got about 6 minutes left,
Cool, cool, cool.
which is awesome. We're good on schedule. That is not the question. This question. Nope, that is not the question either. This is a question. Moving along.
All
All right.
right. Yes.
So, what is most important to demystifying the belief that it's impossible to grow and nurture more than one passion at a time?
Yeah, I think that this idea that we can't do more than one thing, that you have to be in one specific niche, is very limiting. Well, I think that when God made human beings, He made us very dynamic, and He made us very capable of growth. I think and I think that was a part of His intention. That's a part of life, the ability for you to plant a seed, and it grows, and it not only grows, it provides shade, and it provides homes for animals and insects, and it bears fruit, and so then it is now also providing for other life forms. So if you think about it, that tree is doing like juggling 6 to 7 different things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that's important to consider, that you don't have to be in just one field or one space. And I think that there's something beautiful about nurturing and growing more than one passion. And I think it's possible. It just, again, I think it takes time. You can't do 20,000 things at once, right? So right now I'm nurturing my desire to want to be able to speak more, because now I realize that that's something that I want to do. And so
Yep.
that's what I'm doing right now. I'm not shooting somebody with this other hand. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important to note that it's not going to look like you're doing everything at once. You're doing one thing at one time, but feeding into all of these different places. It's like you're just watering all your different plants throughout the week as you go, and you're going to watch them grow. So I think it's important for the next generation to know that there are no limits to what they can accomplish. There are no limits to what fields they can go into, um, especially if you are a person of color in the U.S. That is, you tend to be the minority in almost every field. Um, I think it's important for us to show our children that there are,
Yes.
again, no limits to what they can aspire to be and do. So, yeah.
You basically said what I would have said. The only thing
Hmm.
that I would add is the beauty of being able to do multiple things is that
Hmm.
you take different things from each and put it into the other. So
Mm.
it becomes like a
Hmm.
hybrid of, and it becomes unique to you, right?
Yeah.
As a as a as a person who works in medicine, but also as a photographer, you have, in all your experiences of just being who you are, you have a unique approach on how you make decisions, how you look at people, and how you just carry yourself. And so I feel
Hmm.
like being able to not just be in one lane, but have multiple lanes and being okay with that. And then figuring out, so you start here with yourself, you have all your different things that you love to do, and then it comes back into, well, why? Why are you doing
Hmm.
it? What is your
Hmm.
overall mission, right?
Hmm.
And if you have those three stages, it's like you you're
You're good
doing
to
what you're
go.
supposed to be doing. You're doing what God calls you to do. And I think that's the
Yeah.
ultimate definition. It starts with you. You get curious. You figure out some things fall off, some things stick, and then you figure
Hmm.
out what is your life mission. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
the last question that we'll get to is from Facebook. You spoke of your relationship with God. Do you, either of you think that your passions are synonymous with you being gifted with your creativity, as in God given gifts?
Yes. Because I mean, what is a gift? But a gift is supposed to bring joy, right? It's supposed to bring happiness to someone. When you give someone a gift, they're like, "Oh my gosh!" And I think that all of the things that I do, all the things that I'm passionate about, they are gifts to myself. Like, not only do I get to bless people with it, so it's a gift to others, but it also gifts me with like just so many good moments to hold and to sit with, um, and to feel like my life is worth living, and that I am doing what I was called here to do. So it's like the gift that keeps on giving. Okay, so I definitely
Yeah.
would say that statement. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Sorry about that, everybody.
No.
I would say, to add on to that, because I completely agree with everything that you just said. It's making me easier for my response. I feel like God gives us gifts, and it starts off as a seed,
Mhm.
and you have to water it to see it grow.
Mhm.
Um, those little instances where you're like, "Oh, I like doing that." That's God saying that that's your gift. Or this is easy for me and I like to do it. But then I think a lot of people do not realize that sometimes gifts come in challenges. Me becoming
Mm.
passionate about being a business owner, when I first started doing video production, I was all creative and that was fun, you know. Gifts aren't always fun from God. Sometimes God gives you a seed of struggle or challenge, and I think you have to pay attention to those and overcome those so it can morph and grow into a gift. I feel like I have now a gift of identifying opportunity to be in business, and I didn't have that before.
Mhm.
So I don't think everything is always just naturally there. I think, well, in a sense, it is naturally there. It just comes in the form of fun or challenge.
Yeah.
And you have to listen to all those things. So, as we talked about through this whole session, we talked about those negative things that come in. Sometimes they're challenges. Sometimes they're, you're not trusting yourself or you're not having confidence. Not having confidence in something could be a seed from God for you to tackle that and focus
Yeah.
on it to get confidence, to be able to overcome it and discover what you can do with it. So I always look at those different things, and that's the way I would see that as far as God gifts. Sometimes they're a challenge, or sometimes they just come easy.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
that was great,
This is
man.
good.
That was
Mhm.
great. It's always good talking to you. Do you
Yeah.
have anything that you want to say? Any lasting things to anybody?
I mean, we talked about a lot of things, but I will say, I just want to encourage everyone to keep on keeping on. I know that's very cliche, but I think that's the one thing that I have learned, that every time I stop for a second, I can look back and see all of the obstacles that God has brought me through, all of the challenges, all of the things that I thought were disasters. I can see now what I learned from them and how I have now implemented into my life now, right? And so I think that, I mean,
Uh oh. Oh no. We lost her at the very end. Let's see if we can bring her back. One second. One second. That's live streaming, y'all. I'm gonna bring her back via audio. That's what we're gonna do. You gotta be prepared. So, we're gonna bring back this right here. Hello?
did I go up?
Yeah. But I'm gonna let you finish via phone, so
Oh,
everybody
okay.
can hear you.
I see my faces. It looks like I'm praying.
Yeah, yeah. So go ahead.
I don't know what I had left off on, but I think the main thing that I wanted to say is that when I look back on my life in general, like, I remember what it was like to live in a time that I thought that I was never going to get through, or the time period where I really was just feeling like less than and thinking of myself as not capable of doing X, Y, and Z. But now, sitting where I am, I can look back and see how each of those experiences made me who I am today. So
Mm.
I just want to encourage everyone that no matter what you're going through, what we're going through in this world, that there are opportunities for you to continue to grow in your passion, to grow in your skills, and to still leave your mark, and to still, I think, make an impact. So that's where I will leave everyone with today.
Well, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I know you're a busy person. I know you're smack dab in the middle of getting your education and dealing with all of what's going on right now. So, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. I got a lot from it. And like I said, this whole this whole live stream experience for me and what I want it to be for everyone is to be able to learn, grow, and just participate in just some good communication, really about how to be your whole self. So,
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
yeah, I appreciate you, and yeah, I'm pretty sure once you graduate and once you get into a different field and I mean, once you get into your field and all that stuff, I'll figure out how I can get you on again. And we can talk about
Most
something else.
definitely.
All right. So that's it, everybody. Thank you so much. Tune in next time. I'll send up some updates. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Till next time.